And whether you want to look at love as a personal thing between you and your spouse or your children or your pets, that's one thing. But I think those are the places you learn love for your employees, or for your understanding of failure, or for your understanding of ideas. And love in many ways equals compassion. And if you can't have compassion for other people, you're not going to be able to have the recouping compassion for yourself. Because adversity is inevitable. You have to love yourself. You have to believe in yourself. And at risk of being arrogant, that's the part I really fail at in most cases. I don't always love myself. That is the hardest thing for me to overcome. Because people won't follow someone who doesn't love themselves. People won't follow someone who can't have compassion for people falling down. Now, we have to make choices. When your idea makes it, and you're above 5, 6 employees, 30, 50 employees, you're going to have to make hard decisions. You're going to have to choose between this one and that one. But you can do it in a manner of love. You can do it in a matter of compassion, because that's what will bleed through your organization as you grow. And it's never too late to grow. It's never too late to love. It's never too late to be compassionate. And it's never, never, never too late to forgive. If you can forgive, you can love. And if you can love, you can succeed. Does that make sense? I beg you, I implore you to love somebody today. Whether it's in your organization, whether it's in your house, you will be a better person. You will be a much more successful person. You will be happier. Those things will pass through to your organizational thoughts. That's what love's got to do with it.
Sounds like a pretty complete answer. Anyone have a question about that one? All right. Now, you said forgiveness and love, and you've talked about adversity and perspective. The last piece that you said you thought somebody in this room might have a need to hear is about endurance.
Yeah, I think if you take everything that we've talked about, which went pretty quick, really, which was first was leadership. The second one was adversity. The third was perspective. The fourth we just briefly touched on, love. But you have to close with endurance. We talked about it earlier. Someone's always bigger, faster, stronger, smarter. Endurance is the separator. Endurance is the differentiator. Endurance is the complete measurement of the fulfillment of your task. Very few people have an idea and it just works. It wouldn't really be any fun, to be honest with you. My dad also told me, he said, it's the journey. You know, son, it's the journey. You've done things that I've only dreamed of. I can't believe you've done these things and you've been able to work through these things, and how do you do this and that? He says, but don't forget one thing, that it's the journey. Because all of a sudden you wake up and you're 50. And you're 50. You're not 50. Someday you're going to be 50. And you're going to say, I'm 50. 50's all right. But it's that journey, you know, and I wasted so much energy and so much worrisome. I wasted so much stress. I forgot most of the journey that I could have learned so much quicker from. So when I want to talk to you about endurance, I want you to completely understand that the biggest gift any entrepreneur has is to close. And you can't close if you don't have endurance. because closing is a process. Closing is a setup. Closing is a byproduct of everything we just talked about. You can't have a plan executed if you don't have one. You can't close it. You can't set up piece by piece by piece. An entrepreneur works backwards. An entrepreneur says, I got this great idea. It's going to make lots of money. It's going to make everybody happy. It's going to solve the world's problems. How do we get there? He doesn't know. He doesn't know. He has to have endurance. He has to fight through his own weaknesses. He has to fight through the fact that he has no operational skill sets whatsoever. He's a persuader. He has to figure these things out. And what happens is trial and error. Get up, pick up your feet, put one foot in front of the other, quit crying, go love somebody, and keep on keeping on. Thank you very much. I appreciate everything this evening.
Well, I hope you've got some space for some Q&A, so feel free to hang out in the middle.
Yeah, be great.
Okay, so we have had quite a journey all the way through from love to, actually, from leadership down to endurance. And we have some time that we can devote to questions. So if you are an entrepreneur and you have had a challenge in one of those 5 areas, leadership, adversity, perspective, love, or endurance, ask a question. Todd will be very happy to help you move forward where you're stuck. So, if you're an entrepreneur, you're stuck in any one of those areas or have been stuck in any one of those 5 areas recently, raise your hand, I'll bring you the mic. I've got a volunteer. All right, I got 2. So,
I want to, before
Hold
he
on.
says something, Jackie, I want everyone to understand what I do. Do people know what I do? Okay. I own a nationwide payroll solution called PayServe Systems. My first organizational attempt was a failure. I built donut shops. And it wasn't completely a failure, but I ended up with one, and I persuaded a guy to give me the building, and then I persuaded the people to give me free product, and that went very well. And then someone came in and persuaded me to sell, and I wouldn't sell, and then we did this collage of he owned buildings and I ran the companies, and it was a mess. And instead of going bankrupt, I dissolved my organization. It took me 4 years to pay back some people. My wife had a car accident, unfortunately, and we got a settlement, and that was one way we were able to pay back the IRS. I went into sales. I sold the product that I was getting out of as far as donut products and commodities, and figured out I could sell my way out of this. And I worked on commission only. I'm giving you the fast track version. My wife got into payroll. She's a brilliant woman. And it was a budding PEO, which is a professional employee organization. Anybody know what that is? I built the second publicly traded PEO from 1994 to 2000. I didn't feel that aligned with my moral compass in all directions, and I got out of that, and I decided to build a company called PayServe System, which is pay is payroll and serve is how Christ led the church. And we kept the service model of the professional employee organization, but we got rid of the business model. And we were able to do it for $1.50 a check or something like that. And we're all over the country now. And it's because I kept getting up. It's because we kept going forward. It was 4 steps forward, 10 steps back, 2 steps, whatever that formula is. We just kept going. So that's a little bit about all that, you guys, that was a completely impromptu message. It's me, so you got that. And so I'm grateful for that. So the question, I think you should understand that, just because I get up here and I can speak doesn't mean I'm qualified to speak. So I wanted to give you a little bit of my background. And you can Google me, Todd Saylor, and there's lots of stuff for nighttime laughs. Okay, what's the question?
After meeting several successful entrepreneurs, I got one question I like to ask every one of them, and it's amazing the different answers I get. When it's time to defrag, to keep from blowing the fuse, your opinion, when is the best time to defrag, in the morning or late in the evening after the day?
Well, clearly, mine is in the gym and it's in the evening.
So the next question was right here.
Thank you for sharing, Todd. That was great, by the way.
Wow, that's nice to hear. Thank you, sir. What's your name?
Hank Zampa.
Hank.
Right. From what I read, most everything rises and falls on leadership, and it's a very important topic. Maybe expand on a little bit. And from what I gather about leadership is that individual who has a vision, who is able to transmit it to others, where they can become involved in it and becomes part of them, becomes a passion with them, so they will follow that leader. Because a leader with nobody following them is no leadership at all. So
Yes.
can you expand on that a little bit?
Yeah, I think you said a mouthful there, Hank. Okay, I'm gonna give you my opinion, and I think I'm right, but it doesn't mean other opinions are wrong. So I'm gonna give you leadership is an attitude. Leadership really isn't always doing. Leadership isn't always any one thing. But if leadership is one thing and one thing only, it's always attitude. So Hank, if you get up in the morning and you have this perseverance passion and you have this great idea, but you fall short on operations and you fall short on finance and you fall short on all those other reasons and you fall short on wisdom, that doesn't mean you're not a great leader, Hank. You're a great leader because an attitude of a leader is, how do I get this done? Search it out. You know, the level of a company can only, get this, the level of a company can only rise to the level of its greatest weakness. So the leader's job is to articulate his greatest weakness and the entity's greatest weakness. Because you could have the best sales department, you could have the most money in the world, but if you don't have someone that can make the widget, you're stuck. So you got to figure out how to get that widget done. So, Hank, great question. Attitude. Attitude, baby. Attitude, attitude, attitude. Know it, think it, believe it, get it done.
Coming up.
She's got the mic.
All right. What really struck me is the model when you were talking about you look at a corporation that's doing something, but you don't want to be in that same box, and so you take the model and you bring it to a small business that you make all the decisions. But the question is how they can attract it through their website, through people knowing about them because it's a well-named industry, where ours is more not as well named. So how do you just get the word out to attract business is my question.
First thing, do it better, okay? Do it better. And I'm not gonna pretend I didn't invent payroll, okay? I just made it better.